Welcome everyone to the webinar. I'm just adding a couple more people before we officially kick off. It's great to see everyone online tonight. Wow, what a week in the world. And of course, what a week in crypto. Obviously, we had some pretty crazy stuff happen with the market with the announcement of what's happening in the Ukraine. I'm not going to go into the politics of all that stuff, but talking with a mate of mine from the Wild Man Revolution, Steve McNamara, who does some really good job at talking to lots of different influencers and people who really know what's happening in crypto and also personal development. You know, every time, it's pretty funny, every time they announce a war forever, the market tanks and rebounds, and then it tanks again. That's just the way the market reacts to all this type of craziness. So we are living in extraordinary times. You know, cryptocurrency, like I've said for the last, probably 6 months, if you looked at what we're doing, it is spectacular. As an insular little ball of finance and technology and future and what we're doing in Web3 and Bitcoin 4.0 and all these really good things, it's absolutely amazing. But unfortunately, we are linked to the rest of the world of finance. We just are solidly linked to that. So whatever happens in our old world of money creation, wealth creation, and freedom has a 10x to 20x effect on us. So if the stock market has a 2% correction, we have a 20 to 30% correction. If the stock market grows, we grow. It's just the same type of thing. We're just a small component of the financial services industry. So expect a lot of exciting times for 2022. It's going to be very exciting. So seeing Bitcoin go from 52,000 Australian dollars down to 46. Hey, I expected that. Did I expect it to bounce up to $54,000 in a matter of days? No, I didn't expect it to bounce so quickly back up to higher than what it was before. It surprised me. But do I expect it to drop again as this conflict and instability and uncertainty happens? Yeah, I do. And everyone I talk to is expecting severe volatility over the next 3 to 6 months. So people going into cryptocurrency have to be aware that whatever day you're buying could be a great day, could be a good day, could be a bad day, but there's no bad time to buy cryptocurrency if you look at it medium to long term, because as this little ball of cryptocurrency evolves, the ball is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So the bigger the ball gets, the less influence it gets affected by the other financial services around the world. Now, if you haven't noticed over the last sort of 6 or so months, when you talk about cryptocurrency in Russia, talk about that little component of cryptocurrency. No, it's all banned. No good. The mainstream media saying Russia's banning cryptocurrency. And then it was, the mining is actually pretty good for Russia because a lot of mining in Russia is in renewable energy, which is a very big positive. And now that Russia's being kicked out officially out of the SWIFT system, and they don't need the SWIFT system to be totally honest, the SWIFT system is hooking up all the central banks around the world. The problem with kicking Russia out of the central bank monetary system is Russia has been debt-free for about 5 years now. So they're not hooked up to the central bank system at all. They're zero. The people, 65% of German power energy needs comes from Russia. So they have to pay for it somehow. Now they can't pay for it through the SWIFT system. They're going to find an alternative system to pay for it through. And geez, funny how Russia says, we might introduce Bitcoin into our economy. Then another economy is flicking over to Bitcoin, just like El Salvador, just like Mexico, Brazil, Venezuela, when the SWIFT system fails them, what do they revert back over to? Bitcoin, and more importantly, the Lightning Network. Bitcoin itself is absolutely rubbish. It's just no good at all as a transfer of payment, of monetary system. But the Lightning Network makes it instant and nearly free. So don't be too surprised if Bitcoin is a major way that the Russian economy, which is the third largest economy in the world, one of 30% of the world's energy needs comes out of Russia. It's going to have a big impact on the little ball that we see as cryptocurrency. Now, I did a conversation today, 1 hour, standing in front of a big bunch of people, no whiteboard, no microphone, no tech stuff, just off the cuff, teaching people about financial sovereignty. Apart from probably 3 people out of 40, they all had grey hair or no hair. At the end of it, when you talk for an hour off the cuff to a group of people, you've got to have a lot of information to share because you've got to fill up the time. And everyone at the end of it had a deeper appreciation of financial sovereignty, using cryptocurrency, and more importantly, the evolution of this thing called blockchain, using blockchain technology to access opportunities in the future that we don't have access to at the moment, because the central banking system and the central share market system is rigged against the normal person, the struggler, the worker, the people that we have in our Dacxi community. So today was actually a really good
Damn that Starlink.
He's frozen on us.
He's frozen.
Have we got D ready to stand by and jump in?
Calling D, calling D.
Hi guys.
Looking
Is he
good down
frozen
there.
again? Oh no, Andrew.
It was right in the throat. I was enjoying that.
He gets on a roll,
Yep.
doesn't he?
Yeah, bummer that his internet is so unreliable.
It's very
Isn't it
interesting. It's a very interesting point that he's raised. I haven't heard that before, particularly the raising of the possibility of Russia going to, and the possibility of that. The other thing I didn't know, I don't know how many other people knew, that Russia supplies 30% of the world's energy. You know, he's bloody well researched, the boy, on top of everything else.
Yeah, look, I mean, with Russia, they've got this big pipeline called the Nord 2 going down it's being built going down to Germany, and it will supply a lot of natural gas to Germany, and that's the thing that NATO and of course Biden, the current resident, is trying to stop, because that supplies so much energy and gives them so much currency. But yes, that's right. So the SWIFT system is about to have a really big wake-up call when Russia bypasses that. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Andrew's back.
Sorry, we're going
Andrew's
on without
back.
you. You'd have been proud of us, mate. You'd have been proud of us.
We kept the ball rolling. We kept the ball rolling.
Yeah, that's right. The other
Come on,
interesting
go,
point
Andrew.
was the discussion or the point which I didn't realise either. I'd never heard that before. That Russia's over a period of time has got themselves into a position of debt free, and there's not many countries in the world that can say that. Yeah,
only one. Only one.
Well,
Australia
okay,
was
only,
at one time.
You know,
before it went down the
It's,
toilet.
Yeah. Apologies for not having Starlink. I'm not so happy with Mr. Brown having access to Starlink before me. I might have to defriend him and block him off internet when he gets it, because I'm desperate for Starlink, because I have a bit of an issue living where I live. I'm relying on one satellite, but Starlink gives me access to 12. So my dropout rate will be dramatically decreased. But look, the conversation, just getting back to my conversation with these people today, and in the crowd, I had an under 40-year-old. I don't think there's anyone under 40 in this crowd here. And it was really interesting to talk to someone
Craig's
who...
under 40, really? Wow.
Craig's over 40. Oh my God, he's nearly 60.
It was bullshit. That's okay.
So,
Right.
this
Sunday night,
under 40-year-old was a bit of a techie. He drives a tractor on a friggin' pawpaw farm. We won't go there about his success, but he really knew about one particular coin's use case, and he was sucked into this one particular coin that's not network marketed. I don't like the founder at all. I would never, ever on my deathbed buy this particular coin because I don't like the founder. It's a good coin. It's one of the top 20. I think it's someone's top 20, but I don't like the founder, so I'll never buy it. But he was really passionate about this coin. And the conversation sort of went, he called me a scammer. He called me lots of names publicly. He did a lot of stuff that was very negative leading up to my conversation at this meeting, which made the administrators of the group change the way that they function as well, which is not quite nice, because I didn't want those guys to have to have a lot of headaches about me talking about money and cryptocurrency. It's like talking about religion and sex and marriage. You don't talk about money as much as those things, because people get passionate about your belief compared to their belief. So, but this young guy, he sat in the crowd and he tried to say lots of big cryptocurrency words and ideas to a bunch of grey hair brigade. And every time he opened his mouth, everyone just went, I have no idea what they're talking about. And at the end of the conversation, I did my 1 hour talk, and I had a conversation right at the end on his own, because I need to talk to this guy on his own about how he communicates to the people actually who have wealth. And no one under 40's got wealth. Everyone that's got wealth is over 50, over 60 especially, and normally in the 70 to 90-year-olds. They've really accumulated the wealth. And if you can't explain... Pardon?
Except for Craig. He's under 40 and he's pretty wealthy.
No, he's over 40, for God's sake. He just uses oil of Ulan. It looks so nice on his face. He looks like he's younger than he is. Yeah, good on you. So look, the point is that the people who are going to be punished by not moving into this new monetary system are people that are over 50, 60, 70, 80. And if we can't communicate in a way that's simple, easy, and basic to those people, they're going to miss out. And they're the ones that the wealth is actually going to be stripped from and given to freely the under 40-year-olds. Now, I'm happy to help people under 40. I really am. But I'm not going to do it at the expense of people that are over 50. I'm just not going to do it. I want to communicate in a way that helps people understand they need to learn baby steps, learn a little bit, open an account, watch 20 YouTubes and buy a bit of cryptocurrency, watch 50 YouTubes and buy a medium about a cryptocurrency, watch 100 YouTubes, go to some webinars and go all in. And then after that stage, you learn about the decentralized world, where you can totally have financial sovereignty. Because financial sovereignty breeds a lot of responsibility. Your social sovereignty doesn't really start to you about 19. That's when you control every aspect of your world Well, that's not really true. Nowadays, social sovereignty starts about 35. So if you screw up anyway under 35, you go back to hit mum and dad and say, can you please help me? Can I live in your house for 6 months, 12 months, 5 years so that I can get back on my feet, not pay any rent or pay any power, or you cook for me and clean for me until I get my feet established again? For me, 53 years old, financial sovereignty went, when I got my graduation certificate, grade 12, I was gone. I was financially sovereign. I never relied on my parents for anything monetary from that day onwards. Now it's about 35, I think, you know. It's a bit hard. I lost my job. I go live back with mum and dad. So financial sovereignty is really about you taking 100% responsibility for every aspect of your life, including financial security. And with that comes a lot of responsibility. So if you want to transition from a centralized cryptocurrency system, which is Dacxi, which is Binance, which is Swift, which is Coin, you know, BTC market, that's all centralized. If you want to evolve from that over to 100% financial sovereignty, which is having your nano ledger, your Trezor, going into the decentralized platforms, the level of knowledge and responsibility is elevated dramatically. Because if something happens to you, your password, your computer, there's a whole new level of responsibility that you need to understand in order to successfully transition from a centralized model over to decentralized. Now, I'm very, very grateful for Dee and all her conversations and YouTubes about security, because that is an evolution to help all of us understand about evolving from a centralized model that is financially sovereign but still using centralized systems over to being truly decentralized, understanding security risks so that you can evolve over to complete financial sovereignty where no one can tell you what you can do, how much you can sell, how much you can transfer on any day of the week. That is financial sovereignty. So people like Dee and Brownie, and to a point myself, I'm an entry specialist. I will say that up front. I don't do the DeFi stuff, too risky for me, because I'm too busy looking after normal people evolving into cryptocurrency. But we've got great people that know a lot more about financial sovereignty, and I'm happy to refer their knowledge into our wealth education, wealth creation seminars on a Tuesday and Wednesday, so that you learn about financial sovereignty and how to evolve from a centralized system over to that decentralized financial sovereignty system. And we will all get there when our risk profile allows us to transition. Don't think you should transition before your risk profile is ready for it, because there's way too many pitfalls, potholes, dangers, and the last thing I want to do, and we're all going to die, all of us are going to die at some point. We want our wealth that we've generated in our lifetime to transition to the people that we want to give it to. In order to do that, you have to have another level of responsibility, which means you've got to have a will, you've got to have all your passwords, everything's documented in a way that the person that's going to manage your affairs understands the lunacy that you've been talking about for years, the tinfoil hat stuff. That's a reality now. You know, a lot of my friends, you know, they've taken the tinfoil off their, you know, their Brisbane Broncos cap because it's not tinfoil stuff anymore. It's actually real. Justin Trudeau told everyone around the world that his system, which is the same system through all the Commonwealth states and America, they control your money. It's no different there to here. It's identical. So take the tinfoil off your, you know, your Cowboys, your Storm, your cowboy hat. Take the tinfoil off because you're not a tinfoil hat person anymore. It's real. The governments of the world have given the authority of the banks to 100% control your access to the financial system. For whatever reason they choose, you should or shouldn't have access to it. Welcome to crypto. How good is crypto? Because we can achieve financial sovereignty, and we can sort of make a few dollars in that system as well. Thank God, because we can become financially sovereign, and very quickly we can actually exit our money off centralized platforms into decentralized platforms or private platforms like nano ledgers and Trezors, if we choose to, when we understand the responsibility of doing that. But don't do it unless you understand the responsibility of doing it 100%. And look, Dee's good at that stuff. So we'll get some information more about that over the next few weeks about becoming a little bit more knowledgeable about becoming financially sovereign and the ways of setting up nano ledgers and Trezors and using the DeFi platforms that are available right now, where the government does not have control of your coins. Not saying you should do that. I'm saying that it's good to have that knowledge. So at a point that you are ready to do that and you choose to do that because you're comfortable with doing that, the knowledge is there for you to do it successfully and safely, not only for you for the next 20, 30, 40 years, but also for passing on your assets to the people that are going to get it beyond your lifespan. There was a lot there. So yeah, I got a bit passionate about that because I had a great day today. So has anyone got any questions for me? I'd really love to answer some questions. I know you do have some questions, so ask away. I'm an open book to helping everyone if I can. Or forever hold your peace.
Andrew,
Yeah, buddy.
what's the so are you suggesting we go away from the Dacxi platform?
No, I'm not.
That's
No,
good.
I have my assets on the Dacxi platform for very good reasons.
Absolutely.
No, I am not going into that nano ledger world at all.
Yeah.
I trust the tech, number one. We got an A+ security system. And for some crazy reason, I've taken notice of this woman called Dee Wakefield. Why would you listen to her for? But I've taken some measures to make sure my security systems are sufficient enough to stop people getting into my computer. On top of Dee's stuff, I make sure that my antivirus, my VPNs are all working fine. So when I access my accounts, that's secure. So I understand that I've taken responsibility for minimize the risk to access a central exchange, which is Dacxi. All right. So I like what Dacxi is offering. In the medium term, there will be a vaulting process for Dacxi, which again will elevate my security around Dacxi as well. Not short term, but medium term, there will be a process where we can lock away our coins, and it doesn't matter what happens to the world. Our coins are 100% secure, safe, and they're there for us long term. So that's another thing I'm happy with Dacxi. But more importantly about Dacxi, I didn't get involved with Dacxi to buy Bitcoin and at $5 and have it for $50,000. That's not the purpose of Dacxi. I purely got involved with the Dacxi platform so I can get involved with the startup funding, the globalized startup funding and tokenization of startup funding. That's the only reason I really love the Dacxi platform. That's the evolution of cryptocurrency. It's not about Bitcoin. Crypto is not about Bitcoin. It's not about Ethereum. It's not about Solana. It's not about ADA. That's all an evolution from where Bitcoin started up. The real money in crypto for us as the Dacxi community is tokenizing startup companies. That's where the real solid, safe money is. Getting access to startup opportunities watching that token grow in value as the company grows and becomes more real, as that company goes into the ASX. And at the moment, if you want to buy an ASX share, Westpac, AMP, Connie Mutual, they've taken the guts out of the price already. You see a $1 share, all these big mutual funds have bought an 80-cent share, and you pay $1. So they make 20%. They're all happy. Woohoo, we made so much money off the backs of all the retail customers. Wouldn't it be nice to buy a 1 cent share? It goes up to 80 cents and AMP buys it at 80 cents and then it goes to $1, but you paid 1 cent because that's where Dacxi's going. So we get pre-offers into these startup opportunities. They're vetted, they're really well looked at. They're going to be good, solid investments in real companies. So we get access to them before AMP gets to them and Connie Mutual and Westpac. And then it evolves into the open market of the ASX as a share or a token, more likely a token. And the world gets access to $1, but we paid whatever we paid for it pre the wholesale customers getting involved with that pre-offer into the share market. Who likes that idea? That really gets me excited. That's why I love Dacxi. It's not playing with Bitcoin. It's got nothing to do with Bitcoin and Solana and ADA and all. It's got nothing to do with that. It's got everything to do with crypto 4.0, the future. So we got some really scary stuff happening right now in the real traditional banking world and financial world and share markets and property. Dacxi's not really playing any part of that. We're pretending with the Bitcoin world and portfolio investing, and it's all really great stuff, but we're really part of the next 100 years of allowing tokenized investing to normal people, giving them access to really good tokens that evolve up to the global stock exchanges, whatever country it is in. The big mutual funds dive in cheap. Hang on, we're already in. So they buy our shares if we want to sell them. And then it goes into the open market where the retail customer, that system is not going to change. Doesn't matter what happens with the global reset, with whatever happens in the world, that system is never going to change. Because that system's pretty much set in place. But Dacxi's part of that whole evolution of tokenized investing. And that really, I saw that 4.5 years ago when Ed goes, what do you think of this idea, Andrew? There was no token, there was no company, there was no Tim Baxter, there was nothing. And I went, I'm in, boots and all, because I could see straight away 4.5 years ago that this is the evolution of crypto. And that's really damn exciting because it doesn't matter what the world does, we shouldn't care. We shouldn't care what Bitcoin price is because there's nothing stopping Dacxi delivering on that promise. And look, I'm, now I know Ian Lowe a bit more. I know Chris Tyson a lot more. Fernando, I don't know him a lot, but I will get to meet him soon. But a lot of our Australian management, which actually global management, really, these guys are very, very, very experienced at delivering their niche in responsibility, not their niche in company. Ian Lowe is a marketing specialist that knows crypto, that's every day is understanding more about cryptocurrency, can deliver really concise information about crypto, but he's really a marketing specialist. We live in a marketing world, so he knows the roadmap that we need to go on. So I'm really happy with him. Chris Tyson, he really knows about wealth. He's been tied up with banks and wealth management and wealth funds and wealth companies for decades. We need to move into the wealth market. He may not be at the moment he's too split with trying to build a community and that wealth side. So he's got too many roles, but that will narrow down over time. But he really knows how money works and how big companies work with money. I'm wrapped. I love Chris Tyson. I really do. I just love the guy. Fernando, oh my God, he really knows about product releases and getting products and knowledge into the community that they can understand easily. Lawson is probably one of the world's best pain in the ass compliance officers in the world. He lives to read legislation and rules. He needs medication. He really does. I mean, no one should like that stuff, but he loves it. So he follows global legislation around money. He follows Australian regulation, Singapore legislation, Estonia legislation, Lithuania legislation. He follows it like a fanatic. Well, who else better to be our global compliance officer? You know, a fanatic that loves reading this stuff. Well, our management team is definitely on track to deliver the promise of having a regulated system allowing us to access early stage startup funding that is tokenized, that is going to have very good growth potential in real projects. So even though I got involved with Ed Ludbrook and I knew his capacity to pull a team together, because Ed can't do it all. He's very specialized in his gift. I knew he could put a team together. And from last February, when Chris started the job, I think it was that February he started, through to now, I knew that he's got his core team that they're going to deliver. So we've got a monster use case. That's huge. The use case of Dacxi Coin and Dacxi Chain is literally astronomical. We've got a really good, solid management team, which Ed has put together. I knew he would, but the guys we've got running the show are really good quality, knowledgeable, smart people that got grey hair. Apart from Lawson, because he's Indian, they don't get grey hair till like 80 years old. And the last thing is most important, they comply with legislation. And there's so many projects over there that are going to get nailed to the wall, and everyone's going to lose their money because they don't comply to how they've fundraised money in the initial instance or long term. So if you have Dacxi Coin and you're looking at this 0.6 cent coin, you should be super excited, because I'm buying Dacxi Coin all the time. I really am. I'm not buying any other coins because I know what the company can deliver medium to long term. And I'm a hodler. I'm a low risk taker. I'm a hodler. I hate paying tax. And the only time you got to pay tax is when you sell or convert the asset to another asset. And I worry about converting the asset of the Dacxi Coin on the Dacxi Chain over to Craig's honey coin. When Craig becomes really successful at making too much honey, he's got to go public with his company and fundraise because he needs a big factory. So that's why I love what we're doing. We're not part of this bullshit that's happening right now. We're actually part of the solution to the global economy around fundraising. So I'm excited. I don't know if you are. Doesn't matter if you are or not, because you know my opinion counts for me. Whatever you think is appropriate for you, and it's perfect. Has anyone got anything to add, to ask, or to query about what I've talked about so far?
Yeah, hi, Squid. I just want to add a couple of things, obviously regarding the question with the hardware wallets, because that has been coming up. And the reason why it has been coming up is the fact that governments are obviously controlling the access to your funds more and more. And the issue is, if you do have a regulated exchange, and they already kind of warned that, they might need to comply if the government comes forth and says, okay, you got to freeze the account of that person. And that's why people are looking for alternatives. And obviously a hardware wallet, not your keys, not your crypto, that's an old saying. And it's got a bit of a renaissance. But generally speaking, just to, like I've got, for example, my Dacxi coins are all on the Dacxi account. And the whole idea of where Dacxi is going to go, just as you described, is is important and very valid. If people do want to grow their crypto portfolio and they do choose to take some of them off to a hardware wallet, that's no problem either. So there's different options, and I think the more people can educate themselves about how they are comfortable with, I think that's really what it is about. Because for some people, they're not going to protest down in Canberra. They want, then it's fine, leave it on an exchange, no problem for you. However, if you do feel that you do like sovereignty of your funds, then you might want to think of actually using a hardware wallet. And so again, it's really, I'm glad that Squid mentioned that, because there are different options. And as much as I love the Dacxi Exchange and its security and everything connected, I also do like the idea of actually having my Bitcoin or whatever other coins on my hardware wallet. But that comes along with a lot of responsibility. So educate yourself about it. See what what works for you. And what works for you doesn't necessarily mean it works for your neighbor or for another person. But educate yourself about the different options, and then you can always decide what you want to do.
He loves deep. Mate.
Oh,
That's
a
exactly
couple.
right, Dee.
How lovely.
It's exactly right. Everyone has their own risk profile. And because my risk profile is different to Phil and Craig and Greg and Dale's, doesn't mean that those guys are wrong. Well, probably Craig's wrong, but we won't go there. But it doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means we have a different risk profiles. And if you've decided to look at the volatility of the market and hold on to your coins medium to long term because of volatility, that's not a bad decision. If you decided to sell your coins because of volatility, it's not the wrong decision, because ultimately the technology that we're dealing with, the coins that are on the Dacxi platform, are all medium to long term winning coins. And our competition is -3% or -20% inflation. So if you can make, if you make 50%, 20% on your cryptocurrency assets and the real inflation rate's 20%, you're about okay. But if you leave your money in the bank and the real inflation rate's about 20%, then you're gone down 20% in buying power. So like I said to this young guy that, he said some things to me that were pretty inappropriate online because he's a, keyboard warrior. Everyone has their own risk profile. Everyone has their own investment strategy, and it's perfect for you at the time you make the decision. But there's a few warning things. If it's cryptocurrency and MLM, just delete it. And not only delete it, delete the person that introduced it to you. If it's cryptocurrency and trading bots, delete it, because there's no such thing as guaranteed returns. I know a programmer that does a trading bot. I know exactly how difficult it is to set it up to be winning on a consistent basis. It's nearly impossible for a trading bot to win in a bull and a bear market, because your settings are completely different. And it's not automated because you've got to change the settings all the time, like all the time. If you're in a bull market, all these bots work beautifully. If you're in a bear market, they get stopped out. They lose money if you don't change the settings. But when you change the settings and the market turns again, you lose again. Right? If it's selling education programs and stuff like that, it's literally a Ponzi scheme, because no one uses the education. They sell the dream of making money. And so many people get suckered into it, whether it's 9 months, which is a bad one, or 18 months, which is a good one. And the best one I ever had was 4.5 years. I never got involved with Bit Club, 4.5 years, promising rewards. And eventually they rolled over and it destroyed millions of people's lives because all the money that they've been rolling, compounding, eventually vanished because you can't do it. I love what we do in Dacxi. We don't make promises. We teach people how to get involved with crypto. We get them involved with what's happening in the market. And if you promise results, you promise coin value, stuff like that, well, then you cop it in the net. You know, we had a transition 12 months ago when we had a 6 cent or whatever a cent coin going into the market. Well, the market showed us that it wasn't that value. That's normal. And because of the solidarity of what's happening with the company, we'll get back up to 6 cents, 8 cents, 10 cents, 20 cents, $1 and beyond. But it may take a bit longer than what everyone thinks they will. As long as you hold the asset and you keep continuing learning about the journey, you will win. If you give up, close your eyes, you will lose. Now, Tommy's got his hand up. Welcome, Tommy, one of my best mates down on the Gold Coast. You need to shave, Tommy. What's going on, buddy? What are you up to?
Well, mate, a lot of the ladies would say I don't need a shave. So anyway, but mate, and to Dee's question, well, actually it was on my mind as well. And then Dee sort of started speaking exactly about the thing that's been top of my mind, and no doubt many people's, with what's happened in Canada and this sort of on-ramping and off-ramping, between the fiat world and the crypto world. So understand that obviously the ultimate solution is having a hardware wallet, and in effect, the digital way of putting it under the mattress kind of thing. But in between, when you start thinking about things like MetaMask or Exodus, maybe even like the Wirex card, the thing in Singapore, right, where you can switch between fiat and so on, would they be kind of like the mid-risk intermediate platforms? Because then obviously the risk is any, like Dacxi is regulated because they've got to, be regulated in the current system, Coinbase, Binance, etc. I mean, I guess there's a risk of keeping a certain amount there because the regulators can put a block on those things, right? I don't mean to be a pessimist here because obviously I've got my super sitting on the platform, right? But yeah, can you kind of expand on that or comment on that?
Yeah, totally. Look, that what you're saying is totally true. But we're talking about a few different things here. You're talking about a regulated platform that ultimately has a control feature by the government. So that's where we are with Dacxi. That does control. Yep. If someone says, Tommy, he's a bit dodgy, he thinks the truckers in Canada are good people, we don't, so we'll freeze your account access. That's possible, but that's always been possible. That those rules have been in place for decades already.
Yeah.
I understood about those rules back in 1998, and they were in place before that. So we've always had those rules, always lived under that risk. Now it's becoming a little bit more obvious to everyone that there's that risk. But moving your coins from Dacxi over to a private hardware wallet removes the ability temporarily for you to convert those assets into another asset. So if you move them into a hardware wallet, you can't use them you can't sell them or convert them to another asset. So there gives a bit of a problem. And I've never been super motivated about spending cryptocurrency because I can always just click a button, turn to cash. It's just easier. It's better for my accountant to use cash instead of cryptocurrency. Using cryptocurrency to pay for things right now with the accounting programs that are available is a really big headache for an accountant because they not only have to account for the transaction, they have to account for the capital gains tax on the transaction as well. So you double up accounting for each particular transaction. So I do know people that have used 10X card, that thing that burned and vanished. People had money on 10X and it vanished and burned. Wirex card, and there's lots of other cards coming out. Visa, MasterCard will all have cryptocurrency payment things in the next next 6 months to 12 months, they will. Again, you won't store, you'll only put on those cards your couple weeks of operating cash. But again, you've got to account for the capital gains of that money going on that card, which is going to give you a headache for taxation as well. So we're in that jelly area right now of old system influence, new system is fantastic, evolving over to a completely new financial system. So it's really messy at the moment how you actually function. So the whole thing you need to look at is risk, your risk profile. What are you happy with doing with the knowledge that you have and making a decision on where and how you use your cryptocurrency medium to long term? I love my superannuation tax. I love it. It's exactly what it was last year with a different value. No transactions. I just put money in it. I add value into it. There's no sells, no capital gains. It's easy as peasy. Same with my trust account. Don't talk about my corporate account. That's really a disaster. But that's how I operate my life, through my corporate account. But super, it's a HODL program. It's a HODL system. You shouldn't be buying and selling through your super. It's HODL designed for when you retire, transition to retirement, access it at a cheaper rate. That's why we have super. Now, the government can't take that super because it's a self-managed super fund. And if you really want to, you can chuck it on a Trezor. You're not going to sell them anyway. Just leave them there and until you're ready to access them when you're into that retirement phase of your life. That's what super's for. You want trust accounts, again, you can do it through trusts, and you can minimize your tax using trust structures. If it doesn't really make any difference for you, trusts are really good because they offer you capital gains discounts where corporate accounts don't give you capital gains discounts. So understanding that a whole tax area is super important for when you make decisions about when you buy coins, what coins you buy, how long you hold coins for, and ultimately the intention of the purchase in the first instance. Why are you buying a particular coin? Are you buying it to trade? Are you buying it to hold? Or are you buying it for transition to retirement? I hope that answers your question.
Squid, a quick one. I want to just add to some of the things that Tommy asked there regarding wallets, paper wallets like MetaMask and Exodus. And there, I just want to be very clear because sometimes, you said something like it's in between, an exchange and a hardware wallet. It's actually not. Well, it is and it isn't. From a security point of view, they are actually a nightmare. So from a security point of view, you either leave it on the exchange because they've got the security exchange, you've got the custody insurance and everything else that's very, very expensive, or you put it on your hardware wallet. And one of my clients, she lost $8,000 in Bitcoin because she used an Exodus wallet that was not connected to the ledger. So actually her private keys were on her computer got hacked, they got everything. And so you would not use MetaMask, you would not use Exodus wallet to store the crypto if it's not connected to a ledger or a Trezor. The other thing, what you can use, it's so for example, you've got your hardware wallet, you can use MetaMask, and that's Squid mentioned that you can't really kind of swap the coins, but you can swap the coins if they're on the hardware wallet, and you do that with applications like MetaMask. But again, it's got to be connected to your hardware wallet. And so I would never use any of these paper wallets to actually store the crypto, because that means you store them on your computer. It's consistently connected to the internet. You make a couple of mistakes, people know you've got something, and buy your crypto. So it's either hardware wallet or it's an exchange, because obviously the hardware wallet is offline. If you observe very basic operational security, that is the safest way of storing it. If you do understand how to store your seed phrase, etc., etc. safely. And the other way is an exchange, a very safe exchange like the Dacxi Exchange, but nothing in between. So you can use these applications like MetaMask to do something on your ledger, but without the ledger, any of these, it's very risky to just use them to store your crypto on your computer. Wouldn't do that.
Right. Okay. All right. Thanks, Dee. Obviously, there's a bit more operational overhead if you're going for hardware sort of solution and with MetaMask, but that's probably the ideal one from a the dark side of the cloud point of view. But also with that overhead, you get insurance against some of the crazy shit that's happening with governments going a little crazy at the moment with overreach and whatnot.
Yeah, and one thing I want to add there, Tommy, quick, is that so I've been using over 10 different exchanges.
Yep.
And some of them are obviously the global exchange, like very large exchanges. Quite a number of them are Australian exchanges. I live in Australia. So yeah, I think it would be quite difficult for the Australian government to go after an exchange that's somewhere in China. Let's put it this way.
Right.
They can
got it, yeah.
obviously tell the local exchanges, hey, you've got da, 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 da. So, you know, there's always a way. You will always find a way, let's put it this way. And so on many levels, I'm not, you know, I'm not suggesting that people should just go out nilly-willy and then sign up to every exchange under the sun. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you have to understand your risk profile, you have to understand your needs and requirements, and you have to educate yourself.
Yeah. No.
And yeah, and if people do want to know more about hardware wallets, you know, I'm obviously available. I teach people how to do that. I help them recover it as well, Brownie. And so, yeah, that's what I do and what I enjoy doing. So,
Thanks, Dee.
yeah.
Thank you, Dee. Again, I'll say thank you.
All
I heard
good.
that. Thank you, Dee.
All good, Brownie.
All right. No, terrific. I might reach out to you directly
Sure.
offline.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay. All right.
Well,
Thanks,
good.
Gwen.
Who's got some value out of tonight? What a great night tonight. Who's had a good night tonight?
Yeah, good night. And you've been on fire too, mate. No, you've been
I'm buzzing.
right on track tonight. But you've been at your best. You've covered a whole bunch of good things, and you know, good on you. Well done. Just a quick one for Dee. My Ether wallet. Do you know much about that? I've got some old base Ethereum from years ago that I have in my Ether wallet.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got the key offline. I've got it's a plug-in online. But however, I'm hesitant to say this, but I've lost my way a little bit there. They went to MetaMask a year or two ago, and I got in and had a little play there, and I may have lost my way a bit. So what's
you want a
personal
send me a personal message, Phil? We'll just take that
What's-
offline and then we'll go from
What's
there.
that's
Just
what I was
through
gonna say.
Telegram. You should be able to reach out to me through Telegram.
You on Telegram?
Yeah. If not, then Squid can always hand you my personal
Yeah,
details.
no, I'll yep.
Just my website is dwakefield.com.au, and there's also a contact page, so you can always send me an email through there, and then we'll get in touch. All right.
Yes, I have an unknown number of Ethereum in there, and it's every day I wake up in a cold sweat thinking bad thoughts about it. Anyway, never mind.
I think Brownie is smiling.
I'm smiling because I felt the same way for 2 years. And
yes, interesting.
when I finally bit the bullet and talked to Dee and sat down, I'm a happy man now. That's all I can say.
Good. I
I'm a
bet you
happy
would
man.
be. All right. Well, I'm looking forward
Take
to that
action.
same smile. I can see the energy
Take
around
action.
it. Thank you, Dee.
In
I'll be in contact with you tomorrow.
light of all that, in light of all that, Phil, if you just want to put the keys in the chat, I'm sure we can get access to your Ethereum a lot faster than
Yes,
Dee can.
yes. I'm sure it's a little
Don't do
interesting.
that. Don't
No,
do
but
that.
but seriously, of course not. But seriously, I got to say, right from the word go, with that two or three gems about Russia, and the comment. The other thing was really good, and that's why Tommy came in. I was just about to do it myself, because I hadn't realised that this absolute SH1T that is going on with government control of things at the moment. I had forgotten about the fact that may spread over to the Dacxis of this world being rung and said, hey, you have to do this. I knew it was going to happen, obviously happening already with money, but it never tweaked to me that that was probably going to happen with exchanges as well. So I've got to keep that in mind. And the note you said about I've only just now begun the process of, which is getting ready for an eventuation of disappearing all of a sudden, and all the work you've done to look after people when you go not being in order, because it's quite a complex. We've all got quite complex deals there, and anyway, yeah, that was a good reminder. So there's great value here tonight, right across the board. So thank you very much for the whole team.
You're welcome, Phil. Look, it's that's what these AMAs are for. So we should really have 20,000 people on these AMAs, because you learn a little bit, you develop a bit more confidence, you have your questions answered, and you understand the benefits, rewards, dangers, and disasters all around cryptocurrency. So we've had a great cracking night tonight. I really appreciate everyone attending. I hope you got some value out of tonight. I know I did. I've had a really good day talking cryptocurrency. I really love talking cryptocurrency. You guys are my community. People with grey hair, under 40s. I just can't talk to them. They just know too much. They've got nothing to risk because they've got no money. And it's over 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. We have everything to gain. We have everything to risk, and we have everything to learn. So that's the community that I love the most, is helping people just move a few degrees in paradigm about money. And then eventually you get to the point where you've got a community of people around you that will help you store your cryptocurrency safely in a way that's sovereign, that you are comfortable with the security risks of the way that you generate wealth long term. And I think that's super important. I'm really grateful for everyone in our community. I'm very, very grateful for Dacxi allowing me the space to have a voice to you guys, and that voice is shareable by you and everyone within the Dacxi community. So thank you very much for coming tonight. I really appreciate everyone that's joined tonight. And I do hope you share the webinar tonight. I'll actually make this one a public one, because it was a really good webinar tonight. I think tonight was extraordinary, and I really appreciate Dee's input in tonight. Thank you, Dee, and we really appreciate you, not as much as Brownie does, and probably not as much as Phil will, but thank you very much for your input tonight. So
My
well, good night, everyone.
Good night,
Lovely
everyone.
seeing you.
Night, everyone.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, great.
Thank you, everyone.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
And everyone.
Good night.
All good.